Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers. I'm your instructor for Annie 150, and we are on part 17 of modeling a sci-fi weapon. This is done. That needs to be edge looped. So let's go ahead and do this one. That one's going to be next. Edge loops on that one, and let's go to Control 1. And again, this shouldn't take very long. I'm going to go ahead and move these faces out. Probably a good idea anyway, because I had inverted those accidentally. There we go. I could actually take that whole entire thing out. You wouldn't even know it. It would save us polygons. So I am going to do that. So I don't really need all this stuff in here. Just getting in the way. I'm not going to see it anyway. Alright, delete that, and delete that. Okay. Let's make sure, before I go any farther, that I'm correct. So I'll go in here. And do I see into that? And if I do, I can always change that or make that a little bit smaller. I think that looks pretty good. I think I do want to make this a little bit smaller here because it's kind of going into the other piece. Okay. So the bottom part needs to come in a little bit. Alright, so let's go back into selection mode, Control 1, and let's scale this in a little bit. Let's go in here and scale that in, and let's scale this in a little bit. There we go. And because I scaled it in and didn't move it, that's probably not a good idea. Then I'd have to flatten these out again. So let's go back. And let's just do it the old-fashioned way. Let's click on these guys and move them in. There you go. And just click these guys in here and just move those in a little bit. There we go. And do a little bit more on here. Just a little bit at a time. There we go. And so now let's go ahead and do Control 1. Much better. You can see how that works. Those work together a little bit better. Okay, looks good. Excellent. And I could keep tweaking this thing forever. Problem with this, I went too far. And you find that out pretty quickly when you go back and forth. Let's go back to these vertices, and this time I'm going to go ahead and Control 1 and just make sure, because it's got to match up with this, right? Okay, that's better. And then I'm going to match these guys up right there and pull those back out again. There we go. That looks good. Okay, so let's go back, Control 1. There we go. And that will work. And so edge loops, right? Okay, so edge loops in here, keep them nice and tight. Just make sure you support inside outside of each one of these, because when you do smooth it, it's going to cave in onto itself. You don't want it smoothing out too much. Okay, I think we got it. It's hard to tell. Looks like we got a triangle here, so it doesn't want to finish it off on top. So I'm going to go ahead and create that one. For some reason, let's go Control Z back a minute, because that's a triangle there. Right. So I'm going to add the edge there. It went down that way. So it worked. It went down the other way, so I got that to work. I think so. That worked out pretty good. And this side here, unfortunately, didn't go all the way through. You can see. So I'm going to have to create one myself here. So before I forget to create one there, I'm going to go to selection mode, hit the Q key, make sure you get out. And let's go to multi-cut, and then we'll cut our own one across. There we go. And then hit enter. Perfect. And of course, to make sure we don't mess anything up on this side, let me hit the Q key again, go into selection mode, and let's do insert edge loop here. Here we go. And try to do one here maybe. And it doesn't want to go all the way across. That's okay, because we can finish that up because of that triangle. Alright. We're not going to see this piece. I'm just trying to get this done. And there may be some cleanup here, of course. But the whole idea is just to get these edge loops in here. So this is just the backing for all the armor plating we have on the outside, just so we don't see through the gun. So it's not a huge necessity to get this perfect, and it's okay. I'm not going to go in there and go, oh my gosh, you forgot to do this, you forgot to do that. I understand that there's going to be some mistakes here, and as long as it smooths okay. Let's see what it looks like smooth, and hit the 3 key. You know, that looks fine. All the edges are tight, just the way I want it, and looks exactly how I want it. Okay, there's some pinching there. What's causing that? Let's take a look. Oh, I need to put one on the other side of that. Okay, so that's, now I understand. So let me put one on the other side of this real quick. There we go. Right, and then maybe do this side. Okay. And hit the 3 key. And make that nice, sharp right there. Alright, so this edge here, hit the Q key a minute and select that edge. And let's go ahead and go all the way down. And just select that edge all the way down. And I suppose we could do, well, I can't really do that. Let's go ahead and just select it to that point. And then we're going to move that edge, we're going to slide that edge over over here as far as you can, because we do have a kind of a spot that's a problem. Okay. And we could probably slide that over too if we needed to. Let's go ahead and click on that one, and all the way down. And do the same thing, just slide them apart. Because I really don't need to define that edge right there. So I'm going to hit the G key, it remembers, and move it over. There we go, cool. So now when we smooth it, we should have a nicer looking edge. So smooth, there we go. Much better. Alright, so it's just nice and tight right there, and not so bad in through there. Okay, again, hit the Q or Control 1 and just take a look at it. And again, this is just an object on the inside, right? You're barely able to see it. As long as it looks smooth, we're good, right? So all the pieces are really coming into play now. Everything's looking pretty good. I think this armor piece needs to move forward or something right through here. It just is not matching that angle there. And I can do two things. I can move the angle here to match this, okay? Which is something we can do pretty easily. It's a lot easier to do that than to move that around. So I will do that. So it's just this piece here. I just don't like that. So I'm going to select that and move that back so you can see that we've got an angle that they match each other. And even if I have to go in here and shift select these and move these, whoops, move both of these in a little farther, that'll work. Give more room for your finger. That'll work just fine. Okay, so now when I go in here and do a smooth and click off, yeah, the angle matches a little bit better, which is good. That's what I want. And if I want this piece to angle a little bit more with that, I can also go in here and make that change too as well. So I can go and take this. Let's see if I can do that. Click these two and hit the rotate tool. And I'm going to hold the D key and move that, and I'm going to rotate it along these axes right here. I'm just holding the D key, moving it. Just a little trick I learned. See, I'm moving that like that. That's cool. So I can kind of get that angle, right? And then I'm going to take these guys and move these forward to make sure that they go into that object. So I can go back in here and maybe select more than those and just move that. And maybe I could rotate that a little bit so they are straight. And then move this whole thing up a little bit, like this. Okay, get it to where I want it. There we go. Whoops, forgot a point. Let's go ahead and move that up. Now you saw what I did. I was able to add on to the already original selection I had by going to Shift and Control key. I hold down the Shift and Control key. It allows me to add onto a set that I've already selected. So let's go in here, click off. There it is. That looks much better, a lot cleaner. These are just little things you got to do. One more piece here. Let's get into that piece. Select it. This one's going to be super easy to do. So again, we're going to go in here, insert edge loop tool, and we're just going to insert edge loops here to define this edge, these edges. Again, because it's a machine piece of hardware, the edges are going to be really tight. So go into selection and hit the 3 key, and that looks really good, like that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do Control 1, and there we go, we're on the bottom side of it. Okay, so there we go. Just make sure all the edge loops are looking good. Okay. So far so good. Trigger. I wasn't really happy with the trigger. The trigger itself is okay. What I wasn't happy with was how it was connecting in the center part here. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a extrusion probably from here out. And I think that'll work out just fine. So what I'm going to do is select these two objects as objects, right? And I'm going to go ahead and do a Control 1, isolate those. I am going to add an edge loop across here. Insert edge loop right here, where that is going to start, right here. Okay, so now I can go into my faces and whoops, Control Z, hit the Q key. I forget about that all the time. I'm sure you will too. and select those faces, right? Okay. Select those faces and extrude that out. And I think that'll make for a nicer looking object for this part. And it'll look like it's part of this one too as well. So let's go one more over. I think that will work out really good. Here we go. Okay. And yeah, that looks good. So 1, 2, 3 over. And then we're going to extrude. So Control E. Okay, we're going to pull that out. Okay, until it intersects that other object. Okay, like that, something like that. Just make sure it doesn't go through. See, it's almost going through there. This part right here. So we got to be super careful with that. Just pull that back a little bit. There we go. So it's not going through. And then we can pull these out separately. So I'm going to select this guy here, 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 and continue to pull this out like that. There we go. Pull that out a little bit, and then I'm going to click on these two guys in the center, right? And we'll move those out a little bit farther, like that. And I think that looks a lot nicer as a trigger. There we go. It looks like it fits in real nice with that. Okay. So that piece there, and if I hit the 3 key, it'll look something like this. Okay. Alright, so what I can do with that is kind of machine that a little bit more. So it looks more machined, so Control 1 again. So now that I got that piece in there, so now I can go in here and machine it, add more of a tighter edge to it, insert edge loop tool to that, and that, and this part, and see, that works out really well. Here we go. The only problem with that is that it adds a lot of edge loops here, and that's going to cause a problem. That's going to pinch that. Let me show you. Part of modeling this type of thing causes problems. So I'm going to go into the 3, and you can kind of see it adds a little band there. Normally that wouldn't bother me too much, but it does bother me. It does bother me. I will tell you that. So I'm going to click on that again. Let's get rid of that. That doesn't work. And so we have to, if you look at something and it's not working, then do something else. So now I'm going to extract these faces so I can keep that. So I'm going to select the faces, right? Just select the faces. We've done this before. And extract it, right? Select all these faces here on the top and the bottom here. Okay, and then on the back here, and we'll just extract those. No big deal. Just make sure you don't select anything else, because this is still looking really nice. Our handles looks great. Let's go in here, edit mesh, and go to extract. Okay. So now I'm going to extract that piece. Alright, so it's extracted. So what I can do is, if I move it, okay, let's go ahead and do pivot point, center pivot point up here. You can see I've selected that. Move it out a little bit, and you notice that this is kind of messed up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to, let's just go to, there we go, and object selection mode, and let's, we're going to go ahead and get those appended. So I'm going to append these pieces. Okay, hit enter. Hit the G key. Append this piece. Just go slow, hit enter. Hit the G key. Append that piece. Hit enter. G key. G key remembers your last tool. Okay. and the G key so I can just continue filling this area up. Whoa, that's not good. Hit the back key and just rotate around if you make a mistake, and enter, and hit the append polygon tool, or just hit the G key again, and we'll finish this up. There we go. Enter. Great. Problem is it makes those faceted, right? We talked about that. Looks pretty bad. And we'll go to edge and we'll select all those faces and go to mesh display and soften. There we go. Perfect. So we'll take that and we will go ahead and add edge loops to it now. And this is the beauty of this. So now I'm going to go in here, insert edge loop, insert an edge loop there, here, here, and here. So now I get the nice piece that I want, and it fits perfectly over top of that one. I mean, perfectly. So let's go in here and let's just move that back to 0, 0. There we go. Perfect. Look at that. And if I smooth it, hit the 3 key, and that's what it looks like. If I smooth this one, hit the 3 key, that's what that looks like. And look at that. Beautiful fit. Perfect. And let's get everything together again. There we go. Perfect. Awesome. Excellent. And the last thing we'll do is this. Okay. So, and if I'm missing something, we'll come back. Let's control 1 and just get that all set up. And let's go edge loops. So again, we'll just do the same thing. Try to keep the edge loops. I'm going to keep that a little bit smoother. There we go. So that will work out just fine. Okay. And then when I hit the 3 key, hit the Q key, and when I hit the 3 key with object mode on, that's what it looks like. Nice. Just kind of tapered on the end. I did that on purpose because I would have, if I did 2, it would have been a lot sharper. But I wanted to kind of taper it on the end, and that's what it looks like. And so if I could do control 1, you see we got a really nice looking object there, and everything's looking really super good. So I'm gonna kind of finish everything else off. So where we left off was basically we got our guard completely finished, and we are now looking at all the other pieces that we need to finish. So we need to go ahead and finish these up here. So let's go ahead and let's select the pieces that are need to be completed now, as far as getting everything completely done and smooth. Get ready for smoothing, and we're almost there. So I'm going to go control 1, and now we can just go ahead and edge loop everything. What I would suggest that we do first, though, as usual, is select all those pieces and make sure you save them, because these will be part of the low poly. And I think I've mentioned it before that before we edge loop everything, you need to save duplicate these objects. So I'm going to go ahead and select all these, and I'm going to do control D, add another layer, and we're going to call this low poly. Okay, all the pieces that we created for high poly we need to have low. So basically low, medium, and high. Low is without edge loops, medium is with edge loops, support edge loops, and high is when we actually smooth it, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and let's type in low poly weapon. Okay, we'll eventually get all the low polys in there. And if you haven't been saving your low polys with the edge loops, you probably want to duplicate the ones with the edge loops and then clean those up. you know. So meaning that, let's say if I go in here and go to selection mode and add edge loops really quick. So if I add edge loops, I'm going to hit the F key so I can kind of focus on that pretty easily. F key really works great. And so if I do that and get those edge loops in there, and you get pretty good at doing that, and then you just kind of hit the 3 key to make sure it works. Something simplistic, it's easy to fix. There we go. Go back into here. And I'm going to hit the Q key and click on so we can see all the edge loops, and then click back off again so we can't see them. Select the object and hit the 3 key. There we go. Go back into the object and hit the 3 key. Now, there we go. So it looks like we got an object underneath, of course, because I duplicated it, right? And that happens sometimes where you forget what you're doing, and let's hit the 1 key on that. So that's the low poly that I wanted to kind of put into this part right here. So all right. So I should have turned it off. Let me go back. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that's turned off. Okay, and we will go in here and insert edge loops again. There we go. Alright, so I think we've got it. Alright, so if you hit the 3 key, that's what you get. Okay, and that's your sight on the end of the gun. Okay, now let's say you didn't save your low poly, so you got the wonderful job of deleting edge loops. So what you do, of course, you know how to do it. Just, obviously you don't want to delete this edge loop. That's crazy. You want to delete the ones that are supporting it. So control delete. So control delete. It's kind of a pain, but you get pretty fast out of it. You always save your low poly. Always save your low poly. That's what we did with the crate, remember? Remember that. It's important. Alright? It's not hard. It's just very tedious work to get rid of edge loops that you've created. Okay, so there's the low poly you would use, right? Okay, and so that's what you got to do. So I'm going to go Control Z back because I don't want. I already saved the low poly and I want this back. There we go. All right, cool. So I'm going to do that edge loops for the rest of the pieces here. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that looks good, and that does. So, okay, so the rest is basically going through here and adding edge loops. Yahoo! Yay! Edge loops. Adding edge loops. Just so much fun. Hit the F key, rotate around. Alright. Okay, hit the Q key. And go into object mode and then hit the 3 key and check it out. That looks good too. Alright, so that's the high poly. We've already got the low poly, remember? They're in here. And now, this is going to be interesting because we've got triangles. Oh boy. Okay. So let's go ahead and add edge loops to the parts that we can. Alright, so let's go ahead and add an edge loop here. We want a nice tight edge right there. And let's see here. We want that to be pretty round. I think that's what we want. Let's take a look and see what we have when we do hit the 3. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That's kind of what I wanted. Seriously, it is. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Alright. Let's see, hit the 1 key again. Got those tight edges there. I suppose what I could do, I could go into face. This would work. Again, problem solving these things out is important. I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure nothing from behind is selected. So you can see how I'm kind of rotating around, make sure nothing in the back is selected, because that can mess things up. So let's go in here, hit a 5 key again, and let's extrude that, Control E, and just click on one of the boxes and then scale that in just a little bit like that. There we go. Something like that would work. Okay. And that's okay. It's not perfect, but it'll work. And then hit the 3 key, and you can see that flattens it out pretty nice. There we go. So that looks pretty good. I'm okay with that. And so what I'm going to do, since this has 0 on here, I can easily take this and select it, hit the W key, and make sure I center pivot and just move it out of the way. I can always move it back again. I just need to move it out of the way just for a second. Okay, so now this one, we're going to add edge loops to as well, the same way. Same thing. Come on. Hit the Q key. I always forget to do that. And there we go. So now double check. Yep, looks good. 5 key again. Control E, extrude. Click on the little square on top and then scale it in a bit. And then move on to the next one. Okay, hit the Q key again. W key, move it out of the way, and we got one last piece here. And this one actually, this one's good. Let's see here. And go to edge loop here, and go into face mode and hit the Q key and select all the faces. Hit the 4 key and look around, make sure nothing else is selected. Hit the 5 key again, and then hit the Control E, click on the little cube on the top and scroll in a little bit like that. Okay, so all those are done. Okay, do we need to do that to the back? No, I don't think so. Let's go ahead and hit the 3 key and see if there's any problems. We're never going to see the back anyway. So that lays flat. That's good. Okay, so everything looks good. Okay, so let's bring these, let's go to selection mode, go into object mode up here under main menu bar, and just type in 0, and then click on that guy and just type in 0, and there you go. Alright, so all those pieces are completed. What's next? Okay, Control 1. Wow, a long journey. A long journey. Okay, so the last thing, oh my god, the last thing is this little guy right here. These pieces that are coming out, just kind of like we have up here. We're going to do the same exact thing for this piece right here. And it's going to go all the way down to this part right here. Okay, so what do we do with that? Do we extract it? Yeah, we could extract that. We could have some fun with that if we wanted to. We could extract it and we'd do whatever. But what I think I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go with what we have, because this edge loop here is really close and this edge loop's here really close. So what I'm gonna do with this piece is I'm gonna duplicate it, Control D, duplicate it, and then put that other one under the low poly. Okay, and that's gonna turn off now because I have it off. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and select faces and just select those faces here. Okay. So it's better to marquee select, right? Okay. So let's do faces, and let's go ahead and click off. Okay, click back on and go to faces. And I guess I'm going to continue to select those that way. I'm going to hold the plus key. There we go. You can see we go down to there. Okay, let's take a look at what we have. Okay. And I might have to shift select and shift select those pieces that aren't selecting properly. There we go. Alright, so we get a smaller amount of pieces here, right? So I might have to add edge loops through here to give me enough. I think that is something we'll have to do before we even do this. Got to keep it consistent. Little bumps all the way down. Okay. So insert edge loop tool. Insert an edge loop here. Here. And here. Now that looks pretty good. I think that's okay. Alright, so if I hit the 3 key, if I go into object mode, click on the Q key. Alright, so you notice, let's hit the, go to object mode, hit the 3 key. Okay, 1 key, 3 key. Okay. Alright, I think that looks okay. Smooth out. Alright, so go back to 1. Alright, so you see that the problem with inserting edge loops, when you insert edge loops, it doesn't follow, it adds it as a flat piece. It's really not good. So I have to go in there to these pieces here and scale them in or out. So this one here looks pretty terrible. Look at that, it's just as flat as a pancake right here. Okay. So I have to basically go in there and do a manual scale of that edge loop. So I've got to go in here and scale that. Let me do it along the edge. See if it'll do that. It won't do it. Okay. Let's go back off of there. Go back into component maybe. Nope. Normal. Nope. World. Nope. Object, nope, probably not. So if I scale that, it kind of does it wonkily. Okay, but I want to scale that just ever so slightly and then move it around like that. There we go. You can see that it doesn't become flat. Here's another flat one. It's unfortunate, but it just that's what happens. I'm just gonna scale it just a smidgen and then move it. Okay. And then that's too much of a scale, so I'm going to scale that back in a little bit. There we go. Okay. And just continue. If I made a mistake, scale that up a little bit and move it a little bit. We got to keep that nice and smooth, these pieces here. Again, scale it just a little bit and move it just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so good. So that's fixed. So now we're going to go in here and select just the pieces that we want to. So let's just select these pieces here. Okay, like that. And there you go. There's those ridges. Okay. And then let's go ahead and extrude. Now I'm going to reset this. There we go. Before I let it go. And now the problem with this is that with the flat pieces we're able to go straight across, but what if I go in here and I'm going to have to do each one of these separately. Why? Because if I go in here to Control E, right, and I click on Keep Faces Off like we did before, and I move it out with this piece, see how they're all separating? I don't want that to happen if these are wires going all the way across. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to do these separately, one by one, which kind of stinks. Okay, or I can do, let's do this row, right? This is another way you can do it quicker, a little bit quicker. So I'm going to extrude, right? Extrude, move it out. Okay, it's kind of what I did here, right? Move it out just a little bit. Okay, and then extrude again, and then move that out a little bit like that. Okay, and then we'll do the same thing with these guys right here, and they will be separate. Alright, so that's good. Alright, so now we'll do the same thing. So we're going to go to extrude and move it out kind of the same amount like that, and then extrude and then move it out. Okay, we can kind of randomize them a little bit, make it look a little bit cooler. Alright, cool. And so now when you look at this, when we hit the 3 keys, see what that looks like. Now you can see that we got those pieces in there. That looks really good. Let's take a look at it from the side view. Yeah, it matches pretty good. Now if you want them to go all the way across, you know, that's really up to you. I think that's kind of cool, just a little bit like that. Works out really well.